What is up, everybody? Episode 60 of the Patio Slave podcast coming at you. It's Anthony. I'm here with Tony and Nate. What's up, guys? You guys doing good?
Yo, I'm good.
60. So we're over the hill. Ooh,
we're way over the hill. We're retirement age.
You're even stalling on the intro. That's new. No, guys, we episode 60. This has flown by. We're at month 14. We've had a number of guests. We've had a lot of original content. We're just doing our thing, and we're going to continue that. So, as always, like, share, subscribe. That whole thing. Check us out on the social media platforms at Patio Slave on Twitter and Instagram, and email. Again, broken record. We love email. patioslavepodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up. Hate mail, love mail, you name it. We'll read it. We'll reply. But for tonight, what is going on tonight?
I think we wanted to pump the brakes a second, right? Roll the windows down, slow down, hang out for a minute, reflect on the last couple of weeks. It's been a kind of wild ride here over the last month at the Patio Slave podcast. We've had some fun interviews with people from all over the music world, literally all over the music world. California, Maine, the UK, like just people. So that's been kind of wild. Let's start with Trawl. A couple episodes back, talked to those guys. That was a lot of fun. We've actually been conversing with them back and forth really since. Seth is always sending us some cool nerdery on Instagram. He sent us that website, was it yesterday, that had all that memorabilia, like tool tickets that were like $800 and just random stuff like that. That was pretty cool. So it's been fun to chat with those guys, huh?
No, it's been great. Kind of pay our dues to our home turf with those guys, and super nice guys to chill with on that episode. And they had us on their podcast too, which is also officially live. So check us out there, the Trollcast. Super gracious to be on there. That was my first time being interviewed, so I was kind of like, oh, this is what it's like to be on the other side. Yeah, it was kind of rad. But yeah, man, that was cool. Those guys are super nice. Yeah,
by the time this episode drops, we will have promoted it on our socials, and so if you follow us, you'll see it. And we'd love to do that type of thing again, you know what I mean, with them or with someone else, and it'll come. But it was really outside of you guys interviewing me for episode 50-something, whatever it was. That was my first time getting interviewed in this capacity, outside of a job.
I mean, yeah, interviewing you, that didn't count. We were just talking to you. But you're right. It was kind of wild to be interviewed, and didn't know what they were going to ask. And Sean had his what the fuck question, and yeah, I mean it was cool. Those guys are doing big things. The Shark Pinata EP is awesome. Go check that out. Go check out the Trollcast, and then check out the episode with us.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. We and actually one thing we didn't mention. This was our first back interview episodes. Had we ever done 2 in a row?
I don't think so.
I don't think we have.
I don't think so. I was going to say Tone would know.
No, I don't think we have.
And little inside baseball, when we do interviews, it's a lot of work. Like the promo engine behind that stuff, we always want to make sure like we get the word out, and we do try to promo our original stuff, but sometimes it's hard to. It's there's no angle, or you're not sure the right forum and whatnot. But for interviews, there's typically fan pages and fan accounts across all the social media platforms, so it's a lot of work. So kudos to us for pulling it off.
Agreed. Pat ourselves on the back.
So who do we have next? We had Kat Nijmadeen, creative director, Pure Noise Records, out in Nate's neck of the woods, and that was a great conversation. I think we mentioned this before. At least me, I do listen to the episodes back, just to kind of learn from everything and whatnot. And we really vibed out with her. We geeked out with her. She's a total nerd, certified nerd, right? Nate, what's your term?
Certified nerd. Exactly. Yep.
I think she gets that title.
Just to keep it as geeky as possible. That's why I do it.
Well, Frank called us nerds last week too.
Oh yeah, for all the nerds out there.
Yeah.
And I think we laughed.
Yeah. I don't think he knew that was our thing, but it was perfect. I'm getting ahead of myself. No, Kat, we talked to Kat for 45 minutes after we were done recording too, about all kinds of different things. So I'm sure there's a round 2 in that bag. That'd be a fun chat to have her back for, a dedicated episode where we broke something down like Jimmy Eat World, because that's one of her favorite bands. That would be fun, because you're right. She's a certified nerd, Patio Slave certified.
And that's a great point. I think for us, it's like, how quick do the guests want to get off the call after, it can be a good litmus test of how well the interview went. And we've had a number of guests that have hung out. I wouldn't say we've had to kick anyone off at the end, but there have been some that were not in any hurry to get off, which is awesome.
Yeah. I think that's when like, okay, this is meant to be. And that, we're actually doing a somewhat good job is like everyone's comfortable. We're just I always compare. I kind of bring up the same comparison every time. It's like, well, if this was a normal setting, it's just us hanging out at the bar, nerding out with the talent or whatever. And it's like, well, there's no rush until last call. We could talk for hours here. And like you said, like the after show, like it's almost like a B-side. It's like, oh man, especially with Kat, like we were geeking out for so long. I'm like, shit, we should have kept recording. This is so good right now.
Yeah, you. I think you said that at one point during our conversation after. Like, we should have recorded all of this. This would have been great.
Yeah.
No, that was a fun conversation, and I've listened to, and this typically happens, like with our guests, like we tend to listen to the guest band a lot before and after, at least for me, because you just indirectly just pay your respect to the artist. But I've been listening to a ton of Pure Noise stuff, and what a catalog! It doesn't end, and the range of music doesn't end, as you've probably heard on the episode with us, all over the map.
I mean, totally. And to go from Seaway to Spanish Love Songs to Youth Fountain, I mean, and Knock Loose, they're all over the place. It's awesome. Less Than Jake. There's some fun ones in there to listen to. So, and I know I did the same thing. I listened to a ton of stuff that I hadn't peeped in a while, and went back and said, this is something that I need to listen to again, and just had a kind of a Pure Noise geek out fest myself.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually been, and you guys know this, I've been bounced into different record stores trying to find like Pure Noise vinyl, and it's not easy to find actually. So definitely support the label. I think, can you buy direct from the record label itself?
Yeah, online. Yep.
Okay, so definitely support the label directly and buy direct, because I went to at least 3 record stores so far, and it was pretty hard to find Pure Noise stuff. So keep them afloat. Support Kat. She's great. She's a nerd. And like you said, because it spans so many different genres, it's like almost like a perfect fit for what we do here at the Patio Slave podcast. So we're kind of like a, I don't know, 8-headed monster when it comes to like music genres, just like touching all subjects. So she was super rad to just geek out with everything from Jimmy Eat World to, I mean, every hardcore band you can think of.
Con Air, and yep.
Yeah, Con Air, yep.
She said something on the pod that like I truly believe, especially in 2021, anything can happen, and not in like a luck way, like in a luck and opportunity and putting yourself in that position. And she was definitely living proof of that. But I don't know, it almost kind of inspired me for the podcast, which I don't know if this is a segue or not, but into Frank Turner. But man,
it is.
Yeah, I think
it's a great one too.
Unintentionally, like
take the crown.
It really is. Like if you manifest it and like you breathe it and you mean it and you do your homework on things, and we're students of the game for like 30 years of liking music. So I think it's all coming together. And we had Frank on, so there you go.
Yeah, and it's funny. The morning that we had sent out an inquiry a while back, maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks plus ago now at this point, and we were like, who knows? Like this, we're just being positive. You never know. It's worth it. You're not going to get an answer if you don't ask. So let's see. And then the morning we got the answer, Twan, you texted us. You're like, I just feel like something big is coming. I don't know what it is. I just feel it. And we call that nerdvoyance here in the business. And yeah, sure enough, email, hey, what are you guys thinking? What do you want to talk to Frank about? Like, wow, okay, let's do this. Let's put this thing together and see what we can get. So obviously the rest is history after that. We were able to talk to Frank for about 40 minutes or so last week. And listening back to it, I listened back to it today to put some stuff together, and I was stoked. It was an awesome, fun conversation to, somebody that I love the music and have for a while, and for them to come on and give us their time and be as passionate about, what they do and be willing to talk to people like us about it. Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah. Dude, that was basically like a dream come true for you, which is
it's up there. Yeah,
super rad. I feel like that was like the Lance Mercer episode for me. It was like, holy shit, I can actually like, this is real. This is really happening. Like, damn. And then add the fact that the guy's international. He's in England, right? So to talk to someone way overseas, like we actually, little inside scoop, we actually recorded that episode at least on my side of the country, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So I woke up, got ready, and it was like the first time we recorded in the morning, which was a different experience altogether because usually we're cracking beers and it's end of day and, we can kind of hang out. So morning, it's almost like a whole different, it's like, it's work, you're getting up and you're getting dressed and like, all right, let's go interview Frank Turner internationally. This is rad. And I feel like that's a turning point for us here is, okay, now we're doing interviews on an international schedule through his agent. I feel like that's a big turning point for us.
Yeah, no, it is. It's I think you said it, Tony, in the post recap. It's kind of a pinch me moment because like you just don't think that stuff's possible when you start doing this, and it is, and it can go I thought it went really well. Like I think I said it in the episode as well. Like he's that dude. He's still that dude. He'll forever be that dude. Proof is in the pudding. I mean, he's saving venues. Like he's keeping busy. Like that's him. And what a better. I can't think of a better dude for this podcast than that. Like we always talk about fourth member of the pod, Frank, man, he'd be my number one pick, I think.
Yeah, he's doing stuff near and dear to our hearts. He's playing songs on his couch, drinking beers, trying to raise money for independent venues. Like if I could play the guitar the way he could or sing the way he could, I would do that right now or tomorrow or whatever, or over the last year and a half. So yeah, he definitely fits that mold for us.
I think that actually kind of fully highlights what we're talking about in terms of nerdvoyance because it's multifaceted. Like he's an artist, for sure, but he's also, like you said, raising money for venues. He's like mastering and recording albums, so he's kind of on the producing side of things too. So he is the perfect guest, but this isn't like a singular subject podcast. It's kind of like a wide net in terms of what we talk about. So Frank was a perfect guest in that regard, but in terms of like nerdvoyance, like it's like, well, yeah, he is the perfect guest because that story has to be told. And we kind of have this somewhat singular focus, but somewhat spread agenda where it's like, hey, talk about anything and everything as long as it's kind of in this realm of subject matter. And I mean, we could talk to him again. I think we're thinking about doing a part 2 or at least meeting up with Frank for some beers at some other point.
I mean, yeah, that would be ideal. He did say it. We did ask him. He
said it.
We'll have beers.
He offered it.
It's out in the universe.
But we did get nerdy. Like when he and I actually think this is one of the clips we cut on our socials, which is just him, the decision to sing in an English accent versus an American accent. It's like, and this is not a segue. It might sound like it to you guys, but like take Tom DeLonge. Like, did he intentionally intend to sound like that? You know what I mean? Is that an intentional, like, where are you? Like, where does that even come from? You know what I mean? Is he trying to be someone else? I don't know. But Frank, yeah, man, when you're back in the Northeast U.S., I think we're there.
Oh, absolutely. I will ask for guest list. He said I should have asked for it for the live stream last summer. I'll ask for it for real when we're back.
Oh, man. I think he wanted to be in your wedding. Guest list to your wedding.
Oh, man. He could come to that, too. I'll get married again.
Or 2. Nice.
Yeah. There's some people that weren't able to be there. I'm looking at you, Nate. That's because you were on the other side of the country in COVID times, man.
Difficult times. Yeah. Should have, just more to the point that you should just do a part 2 wedding. And Frank will be there. I'll be there.
We'll invite all the Patio Slave guests. Greg, Scott Russo, Mark Weinstein, everybody. You're all invited, guys.
A bunch of them probably know each other.
That's true. So, Twan, you mentioned Tom DeLonge. What do we got there?
All right. So what we were thinking about for this episode is it's 2021, and what happened 20 years ago was the year 2001. So we want to throw it back to 2001, and we've been kind of toying around this idea for a segment, which is kind of reimagining albums, whether it's, trimming the number of tracks, because even some of our favorite albums, there's some fluff in there. There's some fat that can be trimmed. Kind of reimagining what albums would kind of look like or sound like if we did that, and then maybe also rearranging some tracks and things like that. So we didn't bring out the wheel this time. We just picked a couple albums. So first is Blink 182, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and then we're going to get into System of a Down, Toxicity. So what else did I miss? Anything else we want to chime in about this segment?
We I think Sode's Toxicity has 15 tracks, cut it down to 10, and then Take Off Your Pants and Jacket has 13 to cut down to 10. So that was difficult. it was hard for me, and I'm excited to talk about it. I have a theme for one of them that I've kind of broken them up into like 3-song pieces, and like it tells a story for me. So I'm kind of excited to talk about that one. I'm excited to talk about both of them because both records, listening back today, I was like, damn, these are bangers. There's just so many good songs on both records. So, and completely different genres.
Yeah, full disclosure, I wanted to bring the Spin the Wheel, but I got shut down. So anyone listening, if you think we should have done Spin the Wheel, let me know.
Well, then we would have got stuck with like salivas every 6 seconds or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And
No, this we'll bring in the wheel back when we bring Greg back. Not until.
True.
all right, who wants to go first? We'll start with Blink.
Oh boy. Nate, you want to go first?
I'll go, yeah.
All right.
This was like you said, this was hard because this album's fantastic. And when you listen to an album and you have a segment like this, I don't think anyone can really relate unless you do a podcast and do this exact subject. But basically, you're listening to the album in a different lens because you're so used to listening to the album as enjoyment, but now you're studying it as like almost like a project, like homework. And it's got the pros are that you actually really dissect the album, and actually is like a geek project. So there's some cool things about that. The negative part is it's picking your favorite kids, like, oh shit, so I'm going to cut this track, even though I actually kind of like this track. But for this segment, you gotta scrap some. So like you said, it's a 13-track album, and I chose a few that I wanted to keep. Online songs, I cut that one.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. Which I actually kind of like that song, but when it comes to when push comes to shove, I had to pull that one. So that one lost. Story of a Lonely Guy, also like that song. A lot of these songs have like good connotation memory wise, and scrapped that one. And I don't even know if you count this as a song. I feel like this is almost like a, I don't know, in between song. It's one of those like Blink things, right? Happy Holidays. Yeah. So I scrapped that one too.
I agree with I think we all probably agree with Happy Holidays, You Bastard. Just because it doesn't.
Confirmed. Confirmed.
Yeah. I think that song is funny in concert because everybody gets to like talk about Grandpa just ate 7 fucking hot dogs and that type of stuff. But it doesn't fit like the theme of the rest of the album per se, for me anyway. But I'm with you on that one. I kept the other two though.
Me too.
And they'll fit into where I had them. And I almost ditched online songs though, Nate. When I was first sitting down to do this, I thought to myself, this song doesn't really fit what I'm thinking for the rest of it. There's other ones I'd rather have. And then I was like, no, actually if I look at it through this lens, this song needs to be there, especially for that time frame for us when I was 16, 17 years old. We were 16, 17 years old because we were all looking at Instant Messenger and, hoping our crush came on and we could talk to him and put Blink lyrics up in their away messages, that type of stuff. So it needed to be told, and where I have it and why I have it there, I'll explain a little bit in a minute. But I'm with you, Nate. I think that one was on the verge for me, but I ended up keeping it for sentimental reasons.
So one comment, and I'm going to comment on online songs just because I didn't have it on the list and you did, Nate. So even in the moment, again, we were 16, 17, so we could relate, like Tony said. But even in the moment, I was always so confused about that song because they're 9 years older than us. Like they didn't. Yeah. This was like a record label, like play into what's going on, play, which it works. Is it authentic? Who knows? But a great song. I kept it. Yeah, I do love that song. And again, time and a place.
That I didn't think of it that way though. It does. It is probably like a record label. Like, hey, this is gonna fit with your audience.
Exactly. Yep. Almost like a boy band type of thing.
Well, I mean, they kind of were. They made fun of them with the All the Small Things video.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy you said that because that was going through my head when I was doing this like third person critique. Like I was saying, kind of introing this whole thing is like it's different now going through these songs and kind of stepping away from like the positive connotation or memories that are associated with the song that you just mentioned with like online songs and so forth. It's like, shit. Like if I really want to take this seriously, I have to really go with my gut on this one. And I'm, a little bit older now. Like you said, we were 15, 16 when this album dropped. So it was like a perfect time, but now we're adults and it's like, what makes sense today? I guess we're kind of looking at this in the lens of today rather than then, right? It's more like now rather than then.
Au contraire, my friend.
Yeah.
I did both. I did like the beginning of the album is one piece, the middle is one piece, and the end is one piece, and I like put them in order that way for.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I'll give it to you right now. I'll tell you the ones I cut first. I cut Happy Holidays, You Bastard, which we all did. I kept Roller Coaster. I cut Give Me One Good Reason and Please Take Me Home. Did you guys both kept those? Well, Nate, you kept them. Did you keep any of those, Twan?
We have two of the same ones.
Happy Holidays
and Give Me One Good Reason.
Okay. So
we both cut those.
I looked at this like Anthem Part 2 from the version that song felt like an extension of Enema to me. Obviously, there's an Anthem Part 1 on Enema, right? And it felt like, okay, here's the introduction to the new album. I kept it at track 1 because it made sense for that. It was like we're leaving this old party that we were, put the first album out, the first big album out, and we're headed into this new kind of world. And from there, I have kind of the timeline of really from like our age at the time of this coming out, 15, 16 years old, to being an adult with this album. First Date, Online Songs, Story of a Lonely Guy. Is that not all just like high school romances?
Yeah.
From start to finish?
Yeah.
It really is, right? You go in you go out with a girl that you kind of like or you're excited about at that age. And it's very kind of, the song is upbeat and feels like it's something that you want to explore, but you don't know a lot about. Online Songs, it's kind of that teenage angst, like, oh man, is she online? I don't know where she is. Did our date go well? Like that type of thing. And then it didn't work out. Story of a Lonely Guy.
There you go.
Yeah, right? Like that's the trifecta for those 3 songs for me. And then Into the Rock Show, Roller Coaster, and then Reckless Abandon. Rock Show is like, okay, now I'm a little older. I'm out doing things I really love with my friends, whatever. I met a girl there. She's into the same stuff I'm into. This feels like more substance, like something I could be.
It's not forced. It's, yeah.
Right. Where the first stuff felt a little more forced, a little more young, a little more immature. This feels a little more mature. That song even sounds a little more mature than some of the rest of the record. And then as you go, it gets a little more like that. And then Roller Coaster, I mean, when you're that age, especially when you really fall in love with somebody, you're up and down, you're on the roller coaster, right? And then Reckless Abandon, similar, like you're just going for it. You're not worried about getting hurt, any of that stuff.
Yep.
So those 3 together. And then into Shut Up, which is like Things Are on the Rocks, Not Doing So Hot, Stay Together for the Kids, which is like a divorce song, essentially. And then Every Time I Look for You, which is the best song on the record. And that's more upbeat, and it's really reflective. If you think about the rest of the album this way, if you listen to that song through this light, you'll think, wow, they're going back on all the things that they did when they were younger and how they used to act. And maybe next time when I go look for somebody, I'll find them, but the sun's going down on it. Like time for something new. That's how I felt it this time.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. And if you say yes, then we apparently have the same brain. Are you ending on Every Time I Look for You?
Yes.
Me too. I would. Yep. 100%. That should have been the closer.
Yep.
It should have been the closer.
When I first put this together, I had it at like 7, and I was like, wait a second. No, we need to end on an upbeat note. Blink isn't all doom and gloom. I'm not ending with Stay Together for the Kids.
Right.
So that's where, the bottom of the album drops out. And that's an amazing song too. But this one kind of brings you back up. The end of that one, listen to that one into Every Time I Look for You. It's just perfect.
One thing I did do for this album, for this exercise, is I listened to the whole album, and then I played the intro, like the first 5 seconds of each song,
yep,
to see what hit me for an end song. And it's just one of those nerd things. Either our listeners, if you listen to us, you can relate to that, but the normal person is probably like, what the hell are you talking about?
I did the same thing. So
yeah. You gonna say something, Nate?
No, I'm smiling because I agree with that last closing track, but also this whole exercise that you guys did. I kind of did that. I don't think I did it as scientific, but it's interesting now that we're all talking about it. It's like almost like a high school concept album in a lot of ways.
Pretty much.
And well documented. So good on the band. And I feel like the way you mentioned it, Tone, like they must have written those songs in those clusters. I feel like, like that month they wrote those 3 songs, or they probably wrote like 20 songs and kind of narrowed it down to those 3. And like the next month or whatever, they kind of had those other 3 and narrowed it down to those in that kind of like rotation because they flow together. It would be like a perfect, like I don't want to say American Idiot, but it definitely like works in like a sequence.
So why didn't they sequence them that way? You know what I mean?
Well, they kind of did. Well, Online Songs, First Date, and Story of a Lonely Guy
Yeah,
are
true. Yep.
Well, take out Happy Holidays like that. I don't know what the hell that's doing in there anyway. But they almost did. Yeah.
Yeah, they almost did. And then I just kind of flip flop First Date and Online Songs because, I mean, you could go either way with that. They're similar and different at the same time.
Yeah. Good take. When you were kind of teasing that early on, Tone, I kind of was like, I wonder if that's the angle, because even if you look at the song titles, if you don't even know what they're about, you can kind of, first date, stay together for the kids, like you can tell there's some relationship forming.
Yeah, and there's a lot of relationship stuff. And I mean, Mark came from a not so happy home, right? There's numerous songs about that, and I think it is what it is. Like he's not going to not write about some of that stuff,
right?
And I think it finds its way onto this, and this is a great in between album from Enema of the State to Self-Titled. Because
are you segueing into my take?
I might be. You want to go ahead and give it? I'll stand back. They grew up, right? They grew up a little bit on this one, and there's some songs in here that felt like older Blink songs, and there's some songs in here that totally fit in with Self-Titled. So it's a natural progression.
Yeah, so I'll give my 3 and then a little rearranging, and then I'll give my alternate world what if Blink-182 Bizarro world take or whatever. So Happy Holidays, see you later. Give me one good reason, see ya, and Shut Up. I think Happy Holidays is obviously filler. We said that. Shut Up, it's just kind of forced. Like I remember always kind of skipping that song growing up. And Give Me One Good Reason, it's okay, but it doesn't crack the top 10 for me. And then I drop, as we said, Every Time I Look for You at the end. It just feels like a natural closer. And one thing I was thinking about is like, I'd have to fact check this, but I feel like a lot of the albums that I personally hold in really high regard are kind of in that, like perfect albums are kind of in that 10-song range where there's no filler. And I think if you took those out, this would be a contender, I think, in that, like, damn, this is perfect. It's a perfect album. It's got the singles, it's got the slow stuff, fast stuff, etc. So I think we were pretty close in the takes, Tone, on that one. So I'll all right. We love to play the what if stuff. So this kind of plays into, Tone, what you were saying. So if these 3 things happen, what if? If it was 10 songs, if it was just those 10 songs, what if that happened? And also, what if they opted for a different album name? You know what I mean? Because that sets the tone right off. I mean, hand up, I'm guilty of this. I didn't get it when I was that young. I didn't get that title. It was years later. I didn't get it.
I think I got it in the moment, but at the same time, like, it fit older Blink stuff, right?
Yes.
It fits the Happy Holidays, you bastards. It fits the what's the other one that was man, you know what I mean? It fits that stuff.
Mother's Day or
it fits the sophomoric level of Blink-182, which we love. Don't get me wrong, but they also had that other side to them, and this album is totally, it's like Two-Face. It has both.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, good call. I think that's why it's funny. It's like the toilet humor, like, is Blink at heart because that's Tom DeLonge all day, but it almost like takes away from the music because it's like, dude, you guys are really talented. So like, this is a distraction from like what you're doing well, So that filler track just kind of like almost like I don't want to say kneecaps the album, but it's like, why is this in here? This is unnecessary. But we're older now, and like you said, Twan, I didn't get it either. I had no idea. I was like, oh, that's a weird album name. And the artwork is a pants and jacket and a shirt. It's like, okay, I guess this is what it is. Yeah. But I didn't get the joke at all.
Yeah. I mean, you were kind of going where I was going, Nate, which is you cut it down to 10. You take out the jokey sophomoric songs, which Happy Holidays I put in there. Shut Up, that's kind of immature or whatever. So you take those out. You take out the sophomoric album if they named it something else. Like, what if they named this self-titled album? And then also, what if they had made a serious video for First Date? If you take all those out there, the whole dynamic of this album changes such that I think this could have had the impact that Self-Titled ended up having, where like this was the big leap. This was the, not as big of a departure, but this is these guys grew up album type of thing. Because like, listen to Story of a Lonely Guy. sonically, that could be on self-titled. Next time you listen to that song, think of it and like it wouldn't be out of place on self-titled. But I think if a few things different, they would not have been the jokey Blink anymore. It was close, but they didn't let it go.
Well, I kind of love that about this album now, because and we're this is an exercise just to like get us talking about it. We all love this record the way it is, and don't need to like change it too much because it led us to where we are with them. So it was formative for us as Blink fans, as an album that I really got into at 16, 17, having a car finally, having this CD burned from a buddy in my CD player. It's funny you get rid of Shut Up. I think I kept Shut Up because on my burned CD from a friend, Andrew, it skipped. The beginning of it skipped. So the beginning guitar riff like played twice,
Yeah.
and then got into the song. And I still hear that, even though it doesn't play that way over, streaming services. So it's funny to me that I still have that burned CD somewhere. I should probably put that in the car just cause. But yeah, we need it this way because I think it's a progression. It makes them, it's the step towards what we got with self-titled, which we all agree is their masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I kept Shut Up too mainly because the instrumentals on that song are amazing. Travis's drums, the guitar on that album are fantastic. I think you're right. Mark's vocals on that are a little like forced, but it's still somewhat like a song that fits the theme of the album, I guess we're trying to say, like that in-between album, the high school relatable. That's why it dropped at the perfect time for us. But if you just if you just drown out the lyrics, like the instrumentals of that song are like really, really sweet. But the drums are just, obviously we always talk about Travis on here. Like Travis is just a fucking killer drummer. So it's showcased on that song. But I used to blast that song. So I kept that one.
Well, and it'd be F word too, right? Shut the fuck up, she said.
Yeah.
When you're 16, 17, you're like, yeah, let's throw the windows down and play this really loud leaving the high school.
No, that's a lot of fun. And it was easy. No, it was harder to do this than it was for System of a Down, I think.
See, I think this one was easier. I had an easier time with this one once I realized the way I wanted to go.
I could see that because some just didn't fit.
Yeah.
That way.
Here's a little spin though. The album, as we all know, at least us three, had 3 different versions, right? And it had or actually 4, I guess, if you count just the generic version. And they had 3 special editions that had a secret song each. And those secret songs are really good, or at least a few of them are.
What, Fuck a Dog and When You Fucked Grandpa or whatever?
No, Time to Break Up, What Went Wrong, and Don't Tell Me It's Over.
Well, those are the serious ones. Each one had an alternate goofy song.
Yeah. So I wrote those down because it's like those are like so good that they could almost replace, the songs that we dropped, I feel like.
Ooh, that's a good. I got to go back and revisit those.
Yeah, and that's more to the point where, and this is a perfect, representation of how they grew up. It's like, here's a song that's serious. Here's a song that's not serious at all. Put them together. Here's a song that's serious. Here's a song that's not serious at all. Like, were they were probably trying to tell everybody, hey, we're growing up, but we're also still us. Like, deal with it.
Yeah, because like if they went from Enema to self-titled, I don't know. Obviously, you would have loved it, but it's a big jump. And I forget the other band we were chatting about with this, like kind of that same thing of like if you skip an album, man, I think it would hit, but just a little different.
This one being there first with, really First Date was huge on the radio. Stay Together for Kids was a big song. The Rock Show was a big single. Like they had TRL appeal at that time because TRL was still kind of a thing on MTV. And yeah, this helped kind of get them to where they were going to go.
I think Adam's song also kind of prepped the audience for Stay Together for the kids, kind of the slower song in the mix, which Dude Ranch I don't think had. I'd have to revisit that album, but
not to the level of Adam's song or Stay Together for the Kids or anything that's that heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. I remember the first time I heard Adam's song. The first time I heard Adam's song, I was like, "Oh my God, this is like a moving song." Like I felt like the world changed when I heard that song. So, and I was, coming from like a punk band, and like we've talked about earlier, like their Toilet Humor. It was like, oh, this is actually like a real band with like real songwriters and like really good musicians that write quality songs. So I think that moment when I heard Adam's song, I was like, this band is for real. So when we talk about like the songs that are well structured and lyrically immaculate and everything. It's like they do, and I said it earlier, like they kind of kneecap themselves with like the toilet humor because it's like they're so fucking solid, and that's why self-titled is so amazing.
But did they though? Like this album was it was very big.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'm not sure they did. I'm not sure they kneecapped themselves.
Well, because it fit the time frame, right? They were like still kind of young, and they were like still playing Warped Tour, and it was pop punk, so it was fun and energetic, and don't take yourself too seriously kind of thing. But at the end of the day, like they're great song. Tom's a great songwriter. Same with Mark, I guess. But yeah, like when I replace these songs, like Happy Holidays, replace that with Time to Break Up or What Went Wrong, and it's like that's what they should have done. So I think there was probably an inner struggle of no, we don't want to be a serious band. We still want to be a fun punk band, and that's Tom DeLonge all day.
Okay. So yeah, that's you. That's 36-year-old Nate. 17-year-old Nate doesn't think that.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's why
I'm like, Happy Holidays, you bastard. This is great.
Yeah, you want them to have 1 foot in the door and 1 foot in each territory. Because I mean, I liked
totally
the slow songs as much as I liked the fast stuff then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now though, yeah, you're right. Now
I'm skipping that song all day.
Happy Holidays. Yeah. I skipped it today. I mean, I did.
You knew what it was. You didn't need to hear it.
Right.
Exactly. But that's it. It's a bridge. This album is a bridge to where they ended up, and it has so many bangers on it, and I don't want to take any of them away.
What about System of a Down, Toxicity?
There were a couple that I was okay with getting rid of, but harder than I thought it was going to be. Not going to lie. Twan, you go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So full disclosure, and this is a fact. I listened to this album all the way through for the first time, front to back, in probably 15 years. I kind of channeled it back, probably 15 years. And I'm just going to put a statement out there before I get into the songs. I'm surprised this album got as big as it did. And that might sound like a diss. It's not. It's a praise. Not because I don't like it. I love it. It's classic. It captures that time perfectly and brilliantly. But the reason is it's like, I don't know how or why the mainstream accepted it like it did. Like the lyrics are not top 40.
It shouldn't have. You're right.
It's spastic. It ebbs and flows almost like a musical. I was trying to put it in my head. It just, there's thrashy parts that they could have stole from, I don't know, anyone. You pick a big name or a metal band, whatever. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I know why, because of Chop Suey and because Ariel's, and that carried it. But man, this thing, it's properly rated. I don't think it outkicked its coverage, but man, they nailed it. They nailed it. It's a fantastic album. With that said, I did cut some.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go through this actually pretty quick, and then we can react to it. So Jet Pilot, Bounce, Shimmy, Psycho, and Ardo. So Psycho, I mean, there's only so many times I can hear that song. Ardo is just instrumentals. Shimmy kind of has, Bounce has kind of the same impact as Psycho to me, which is like, it's even repetitive for them. And Jet Pilot and Shimmy were like, all right, if I have to pick two, it's going to be those. Any parallels? Any?
Yeah, no, I also cut Jet Pilot and Shimmy and Ardo, R2. I'm not sure. That felt like a track that Maynard would want to throw on in the middle of a Tool record, right?
Yeah.
Not the closer to this whirlwind of an album. So, a lot of what you said I agree with. It doesn't make sense that this was huge, and it was huge,
massive.
Yeah, and it struck a chord with people. They had already kind of started to do that with their previous album. There was a couple of songs on their previous album that got kind of big. Sugar and Spiders, right? Those songs were pretty big.
Yep.
Among a few others. Sweet Pea, I think, was all right too. That record, but not to the level of this one. This one, absolutely massive. Like everywhere and anywhere you could go, it was there. You would hear Chop Suey, or you would hear Toxicity as singles. But yeah, we had a couple similar. Nate, what did you have what ones did you get rid of?
I got rid of Jet Pilot as well. X, Arto, and Shimmy. Are those the same exact four as each one?
No, I didn't have X.
Oh, okay.
You have another one too?
This is tough. I actually put Toxicity, but I think it's because I've heard it so much. So this is another one of those, like, I'm 36 now. Like, it's
You
actually
cut
really
Toxicity? What the fuck are you on?
But that's a good angle though, because like when listening through this today, I skipped the 3 signals: Aerials, Toxicity, and Chop Suey.
Yeah, you didn't have to listen to them, but I'm not cutting that one. No way. Sorry. That song is why they are where they. One of the reasons they are where they are.
No, totally. That's why this is such a hard exercise. You're like choosing your favorite child, you know.
Dig in, Nate.
But,
Defend it. Come on, defend it.
Let's argue. Let's go.
Well, like you said, Arto is a instrumental. Is actually similar to the Blink thing. Just kind of like not random, but like, what is this? It's not taken away from the album, but it's definitely not necessary. Although I guess you could argue that maybe it's the vibe of who they are as a band, which is, they're from Armenia, right? I think.
Yeah.
Jet Pilot and X immediately, like, I skipped those then, and I somewhat skip them now. I play the album full through, but I'm always tempted to skip those 2 tracks. And then Toxicity, I don't skip, but like I was saying earlier, I've heard it so much that I'm like, if I have to pick a song to cut, I chose that one, and it was tough, because like you said, this album's fantastic. And to highlight what you said, Twan, it doesn't make sense that this album got huge. It's so out there, and kind of reminds me of like a Frank Zappa, like just like super fucking random, out there, weird, experimental music that like maybe like it would resonate with like a certain crowd, but definitely not like major, mainstream radio selling out arenas type music, like, at all. I think we liked it because we like all music. We did then, we do now. And that the crowd that, became fans of this music were in that same vein. Like, yeah, I like Slayer and I like, Linkin Park or whatever. Like, I can kind of gravitate towards this music because it's just, like you said, it's all over the place. Maybe that's why, because it's all over the place, that you can kind of gravitate towards it because it's not singular. But Serge, he can sing, he can scream too. So there's always that dynamic of, he's a true musician.
They all are. They're all 4 of them are.
They all are. Oh yeah, they're a tight band for sure, especially live. But the deep cuts are so powerful. And I think I always like the political part of the band. I think we always talk about Rage Against the Machine on here. So like the political aspect of System of a Down, band name aside, they're pretty deep. Like Prison Song right out of the gate is like you're getting educated as a 16-year-old listening to this album, like, holy shit, this is what's really going on. And you start researching, like, oh, this is actually what's going on. Prisons are privatized. This is insanity. I didn't know that until I heard this song.
And I mean, it made mandatory minimum sentences a thing that we all like said in that weird Surge accent, right?
Yeah, I love it. That's the coolest part about this kind of music and free speech in general. Is like, oh, okay, so this is actually what's going on. And Needles and Deer Dance and all these songs are really deep lyrically. And so Toxicity is also a deep song lyrically. But when I had to like pick and choose, I cut that one to kind of make sure that I didn't have to cut a song like Prison Song or Deer Dance. So
yeah. I felt like there were a couple songs that we could have cut. You could have cut that were similar to other ones. Like I cut Needles, I cut Jet Pilot, I cut X, I cut Shimmy, and I cut R2. I almost kept, it was between X and Forest, and I was like, you know what? There's another, like, Deer Dance has its moments. Bounce has its moments, is the similar to X type of vibe, so I left those, and I like those better. The reason I left Bounce is because I remember seeing them live for the first time in Portland at the Civic Center, and I think they either opened with it or it was the first song that like everybody went nuts, and I was like, this is cool. Like it was just one of those, like, okay, I saw it live and I was in the middle of a pit just running for my life during that song. So I had positive connotations with that, but just listen to Dolmayan on the drums at the beginning of Toxicity, and I don't know how you could get rid of that song, man. It's just so damn
I know,
good.
dude, it's tough.
I think it's a through the lens of today. Back then, well, I don't know. I mean, it got played on the radio a ton, but you probably weren't sick of it back then.
No, and so I wrote down 4. There are 4 all-time songs on this record. Chop Suey, I think bar none, we can all agree with, is an amazing song.
Yeah.
Toxicity, similar, and then Aerials, which is a great song. But like we heard all of those 3 a ton on the radio. I'm kind of surprised that Toxicity was the one that you nixed. I think we heard Chop Suey even more. The other one that I put is all time. Do you guys have a guess?
Deer Dance.
Nope. Also very deep.
ATWA.
Yep. That song is fucking awesome.
Nice.
I love that song.
Hell yeah.
It's so slow, then fast, then heavy, then not. And it's, man, that song, that's the perfect System of a Down song for me is ATWA. I love that song.
100%. I agree wholeheartedly. And it's partly because I love bipolar music. So like one of my favorite Slipknot songs is The Nameless. You know what I mean? He sings, he screams. It's like all over the place. So yeah, ATWA fits that vein. Also System of a Down is a song called Roulette off of Steelist album, which fits that vibe as well. And I think I relate it to Smashing Pumpkins. My favorite Smashing Pumpkins songs are the ones where Billy Corgan sings, even though it's full on rock band. So System of a Down, like these slower, I don't want to say ballad because they're definitely not like ballads, but slower tempo System of a Down songs are in my top like 5, you know, throw it against like, you know, Prison Song or something like that, which is polar opposite. And like you said, Twan, like this band is like all over the place. It's hard to stay focused. And I think that's why they resonate internationally. It's just like, it's not singular. And this album, as a sophomore album, their first album was kind of like Ozfest crowd. You know, if you knew them, you knew them. I think their first tour was like with Slayer and Clutch back in like 98. And they just gained popularity through their touring and so forth. So when this album dropped,
the Slayer crowd did not like them.
Yeah, I read that too.
I listened to Serge was on with Rick Rubin on the Broken Record podcast last week, maybe, to talk about this, and because I think Rubin helped out with it, and Rubin called their music music for crazy people, and yeah, the Slayer crowd was not into Sode, which was kind of surprising. I mean, a little surprising because there's some elements of that there, but it's out there comparatively.
Yeah, it's really spastic. Nate, you kind of picked up where I was at one point I wanted to make, which is, you're right. This was Ozfest crowd for self-titled. And then the crowd that came along with this album was more mainstream alt-rock type audience. That's not what the music is, but that was where they ventured into. And I think it's the singles that open that up, because someone who likes Aerials might not dig Psycho, which is interesting. I think they're back-to-back in the album. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is a play where had this album had different singles, like say they tried to go with Jet Pilot, like it wouldn't have hit. It wouldn't have hit like it did. But
That's a good call.
Do you guys know what ATWA stands for?
No, do you? Did you look it up?
I didn't until about 10 minutes ago. Air, trees, water, animals.
Huh.
Interesting.
So that fits right into their political, probably looking to do climate changey type stuff back then.
Wouldn't surprise me.
The Rick Rubin thing, Tone, I know this by memory, and I want to say it's 99% accurate, that Rick Rubin saw System of a Down at the Roxy in Los Angeles randomly, like went to see them play live and started hysterically laughing, and then is like, literally like, I have to sign this band just because they're so hilarious.
That piece I don't know is 100% sure, but yes, they talk, he and Serge talk about it in that podcast, talk about how they heard that Rick was going to be late backstage, and they're like, well, we need to wait till Rick gets here because they were trying to get signed, and
oh wow,
have him do work with him a little bit. So yeah, funny. That's a funny story.
Yeah, because this album dropped, both albums, self-titled, and this one dropped on American Records, right, which is Rick Rubin's imprint under some major label. I can't remember. I want to say
Columbia, I think. It's Columbia.
Oh, Columbia. Yep. And I remember it had an upside down American flag, and thinking like, oh, this is in the vein of Rage Against the Machine, right? Yeah. And the name just like spells it out.
Was it black and white too? The flag wasn't black and white. The upside down flag. Yeah.
This definitely has occasional Rage vibes for sure. Prison Song obviously being the big one probably, but definitely has some Rage vibes.
I think you're right, Tone, and it's basically down to the deep lyrical content that's beyond us at the time, which is what we were talking about earlier, right? It's like textbook stuff, like, oh shit, this is exploiting what is actually going on, using free speech to the nth degree, like, privatized systems and stuff that Zach De La Rocha would talk about, or like looking through like the booklet of like Evil Empire, and there's like a book list, right? Like the anarchist cookbook and stuff like that. You're like, holy shit, I'm like 15 years old. Like, what is this? Like, what's going on?
10 years old.
Yeah, 10.
Yeah.
The other thing that like adds to that list of the reasons why this shouldn't work is Serge, his vocals are almost like a fourth instrument or whatever. Yeah, fourth
Yes.
instrument, a third instrument. Fourth instrument. Where like if on a lot of these songs, I don't even know if you call it singing. He just he's vocalizing right in with the guitars, like da 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 da, and that's like the exact staccato-ness or whatever of the guitars. Where like I don't know, some of it seems thrown together, but for them it's probably so calculated and it makes sense, and for the listener it's like it works. It shouldn't work, but it does. I don't know.
Calculated,
Yeah.
I think, and just from what I've read and listened to, he wants to do that. I think he likes to make himself that fourth instrument, and to like play off of the other three, and then at the same time play off Darren, right? Because Darren also is vocals too, and they sound so different.
Yes.
And you can hear it in numerous songs on this record and every other record they've done, but this one for sure, they play off each other really well in a couple of songs, namely Chop Suey, I would say, but it happens a lot. And Serge is obviously the main vocalist, but you get Darren and you get them kind of going back and forth. It's kind of wild the way they sound.
Yeah, that dichotomy you're talking about is showcased pretty heavily on Needles, right? Where it goes from Surge and then it goes to the breakdown with Darren singing,
Yep.
I'm sitting in my room. It's like a creepy, Darren's got a weird, creepy-ish voice.
Yes.
It's kind of
I remember
awesome.
hearing that for the first time. It's awesome, but I remember the first time I heard it just being like creeped out, like this guy talking about a needle and a guy dying. Like this is bizarre music. So like you said earlier, like it's weird that this album this band became so massive. They should be like an underground band. You see it like a 800 cap club, like when they roll through, not arena. And I'm going to see them in LA in the fall. Like they're playing the Bank of California stadium. Like they're playing a stadium this fall, so unbelievable. But I think it's that tribalism, those sounds you're talking about, the fourth instrument. Like I can see how that translates internationally, especially places like South America. But here in the States, like I think people just like shit that's different. And System of a Down is one of a kind. They're in their own genre. There's nothing else like it.
To kind of bring it full circle to like the purpose of this exercise, which was like reimagining the album and reduce the tracks. Even if you reduce the tracks, even if you took my 5 off or Tone's 5, Nate's 5 off, this album still would have been as big, 100%.
Totally. Yep.
It would have been, because I think a lot of people did come for the singles.
Yeah,
This album still would have been big the way it was. It was big with the 15 songs. If you cut it to 10 and it was a little more succinct, this would have been massive. I just cut the couple that I thought that you already got it with one of the other ones, and it didn't necessarily need to be both. What did you guys think would be a good opening song? Prison Song really is the best opening song for this, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just listen to that, like, boom, and then quiet, boom, boom, boom. It's like fucking perfect.
It
feels perfect to me.
I actually have the track list pulled up, and I'm doing my best to think of the intros for each of these. And
Same, yeah. And actually, the way you just described it, Tone, I think is the way to, well, A, sound it out, but B, I'm trying to think of the best way to open a show. So that's the best opening song for them to open a concert with is Prison Song.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And Serge whispering, "They're trying to build a prison." You're just like, "Whoa, what am I listening to?"
Right, and it wouldn't work as a closer. It wouldn't work as, that's the best place for it, and it's the best song for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thought, I actually just going through the track list is so one thought about Chop Suey. When I went to see A Day to Remember a couple summers ago, the house music leading up to them coming on, which I think was their choice, one of the songs was Chop Suey, like right before they went on, house music, and the crowd sang it so loud, loudest I've ever heard anyone. I don't think I've heard anyone singing the house music. It was amazing, because like once it became a thing, then it became an even bigger thing, and everyone was singing it, and it's like, damn, this song transcends. I mean, that's not even the same genre. Like A Day to Remember, mostly pop punk with breakdowns or whatever, heavy parts. But yeah, killer song that stood the test of time.
That just reminded me of the Frank Turner interview. People moshing and getting pumped during the house music.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that that song, it does transcend. Like it's probably the reason that I got into this record and got into, they're one of my gateways to heavier music too. Like just listening to them and giving it the time of day, where a year or two younger me was like, no way, I'm out on that. And now I'm like, I love this. I need all of it. So they definitely opened a lot of people's our age's eyes at that time to a whole new world of heavy music.
How lucky were we to have that as a bridge into heavy music as a band like System of a Down, which is like way the fuck out there. Way the fuck out there.
This is kind of pivoting into a deep dive here, but is there a better cover that they could have picked for the album? Like, it is perfect. Is there a better album name that they could have picked? I mean, both of those, they nailed it.
Yeah, no and no. You're right. They're perfect. They all lived in L.A., grew up there. I think Shava was born out of the country, but he's only like 3 when he moved here. So they all grew up in L.A., but they found each other even though they're all Armenian, which is kind of crazy. So to pull that off that way and use the like Hollywood sign with Toxicity is perfect.
Yeah, that's rad. I got another thing here, similar to the Blink thing. So the Blink songs they said that could replace the ones we cut are from, I guess, the secret songs on the different variants of Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. So check those out. But for System of a Down Toxicity, this album dropped in 2002, right?
2001, 20 years. Yeah. Right before 9/11.
Okay, yep.
Right before 9/11. Yep.
Oh yeah, true. And then Steal This album dropped in 2002. And this is a B-sides album for the recording sessions for Toxicity. And I wrote down 4 songs that could replace the 4 that we dropped. So I don't know if you guys know much about this album, but Mr. Jack, how do you say it? IEAIAIO.
Yeah.
Roulette, and Streamline.
I don't know enough of those songs by titles.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with those songs that way either. I would have to go back and check them. But what you're thinking to like replace the ones that are on there, the 15 songs, and fit those in instead?
The 14 tracks, yeah, like those 4 tracks. Roulette is in vein of ATWA, kind of a slower, lower tempo song, but has the build up too.
Nice.
AEAIAO or whatever is more like I don't know, could definitely fit next to Science or something like that. Mr. Nice. Jack is, I don't know, I want to say like, I don't know, it could fit in the same kind of, you could tell it was in the same recording sessions. And then Streamline is literally like right in the mix too. So I remember getting that album being like, oh, there's some killer, and this like Steal This album is not a cohesive like front to back album, but there's some killer tracks on there. So you could kind of swap them out. And I actually think that's probably why they dropped it. They're like, oh, this is good material. It'd be a waste if we just like toss these. And I always thought that was cool for them to put out a full album of B-sides and say, hey, like we have these, we might as well press them. I feel like every band should do that. It's like, why the hell not? Like people will appreciate it, and then you can play them live. It's like, it's more material for you guys to play live. Yeah. So
and it makes sense because was it Mesmerize came out in 2005. Steal This album was 2002. Yep. So it did bridge that gap because 4 years goes by. Some people move on.
When did Hypnotize come out? Because those came out kind of around each other.
Same year, I think.
Yeah, those were like double album, but not really at the same time.
Oh, Hypnotize
and Mesmerize.
Yeah, I think Hypnotize, Mesmerize was 05, 06. And like you said, I think it was supposed to be a double album. They split it.
Yep.
I swear to God, I don't know this until we get someone from the band on, but I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be a double album. They split it from the record label pressure to just capitalize on 2 separate platinum records or something, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me, just given the economics of it.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like if Chili Peppers had split Stadium Arcadium into 2 records. Yeah, instead of 1. Yeah, you're right. This is turning into a deep dive.
Yeah. Well, these are 2 great albums to do it on because, you know, there's some albums, you know, that I think we kind of floated out there that just have a ton of filler and it's easy to do this. And we didn't want to go like narrow it to 7 because then you're killing some great songs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have had a even harder time for Blink to do that. Although there's more songs in Toxicity, so I don't know.
Would have been tough to do it to either of them, narrow it down more than we already did. And you're right. We threw a bunch of albums out in the group text, and we were like, these 2 are both kind of at the right length. They're both, 13, 14, 15 songs. we can cut some out that we're going to be like upset that we cut out, and it'll be a fun conversation. And they turned 20 this year. Blink turns 20 in like 6 weeks. I think it's middle of June. So, and then Toxicities this fall or late summer, and they're both timeless. They both are for us growing up, huge in our music fandom life, and they were fun to kind of dissect in a different way.
Yeah, and they're almost like a proper. I mean, I know Blink had Dude Ranch, but these are almost like proper sophomore albums for both bands too. At least major release. That's
a great point. No, I think that's probably a good spot to wrap it. We could go on and on, guys. We could go all night on these.
Yeah, and we thought about doing a third, but it would have been another 25-minute talk. So we're like, let's do 2 tonight. We'll come back to that third one. So hey, that might happen down the road. Subscribe, like, share, listen, follow, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your uncle. Listen to Patio Slave podcast. Hit us up on the socials at Patio Slave on Twitter and Instagram, Gmail, patioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And then just keep on nerding like we do.
Yeah, keep on geeking. Give me shit for cutting toxicity and online songs. It's all good, And we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Yeah, let us know where we screwed up. See you guys.
Peace, Podheads.